Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for July 2nd, 2021. I'm Benji Fisher, moderating and currently sharing my screen. And also on the meeting are Indrajith, who wants to talk about this issue, Aaron McHale, Clayton Dewey, Christina Chumias, Gaurav Malawat, Ofer Shal, and Thomas Howell. So we have a good group today and several issues to go through. And I just want to, for the sake of the recording, point out that the strength of this group is that we have a wide variety of backgrounds. We have designer, front and back end developers, site builders, and that's really helpful for usability. We also have native English speakers and people for whom English is a second or third language, which is often a good mix to have when discussing interface text. So let's start with issue 3212814. Olivero, quick edit and table drag has overflow. And Indrajith, can you explain what the problem is?
Yeah, yes. Actually, the problem is like there is two tables. We can see two columns, and Lori commented like, we have very narrow width for that. So we need to discuss in UX channel. Either we need to make the column width higher or not. That's a question. But for me, actually, we cannot it's taking the normal width. So I'm not proposing to adding the width of the columns. So I'm just to keep for me I'm just keeping the same width for the issue. So I think like it's fine for me, but Lori just commented like we can discuss on UX meetings. That's why I just came here to discuss the issue.
So just looking at the screenshot, it looks as though the before shows some overflow here. These taxonomy terms, I guess, are too wide for the container they're in. The second screenshot, there are these two columns. The right-hand one seems cut off, but maybe that's just a question of the screenshot. And the first column shows that these taxonomy terms are now fit in the space. Do I understand that correctly? Indrajith, if you're answering,
can you just come down the issue? Can you just come down? Yes. Yes, just focus on the Lori comment. I think it's
Do you want the most recent
not
comment?
here. Not last comment. Yeah, here he mentioned two comments number 19 and 20. Yes, based on process. Yes.
So 19 is still an issue. And what was the comment in number 19?
Yes, 19. Yeah.
So he says, I'm not sure how this is supposed to work, but I'm not sure this is more usable than before. For example, on my screen, you can see how narrow the text fields are after applying the patch. And so the terms fit inside the column, but if you have longer text for one of the terms, then that does not fit inside the box allowed. So you see 140 grams butter, the word butter is cut off.
Yes.
I'd agree with Lori that I don't know which one is worse. It overflowing or it being cut off so short.
I wonder what it looks like on a mobile screen and stuff like that. Because it is this responsive? Like, it's not very clear to me if this is essentially trying to choose some sort of like semi-fixed width, etc.
Yeah, Indra, just do you have a like a local copy of the website with your patch applied that you could screen share? It'd be easy to see it in the full context of
No,
the site.
no, actually, I'm really sorry. Actually, I'm connected through a phone only. I'm not at home,
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm really sorry for that.
Oh, that's all right. Maybe
Actually,
I can try maybe to spin something up quickly in the background while we're discussing it.
So I had the same thought. So I just installed Drupal without the patch using the Umami demo, and let me switch to the Olivero theme. I'm pretty sure that those screenshots are using Umami. So can anyone help me figure out where those screenshots came from? What I should be editing here?
I would guess you would go to a recipe, any of them, and then we're using the quick edit. Around the ingredients at the bottom. Yeah. Is there a quick edit here?
I don't see. That's odd.
Do you have quick edit installed?
I just installed the Umami profile.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Oh, right.
Don't I get quick edit by clicking on the edit icon here? Nothing seems to be happening.
Usually quick edit is by hover, you would be able to see it. I'm gonna test it on my machine as well.
Well, when I hover over this block, I get standard contextual link. I see a contextual link up here.
Yay.
There we go. And then we go down to the ingredients. There we go. So this is clearly bad. I don't know. My first impression after this very small experiment is that if 400G whole wheat pasta got cut off around the L in whole wheat, that would still be an improvement.
My question would be with the patch, what's it going to behave like? Because if you can't move over to the end of if you can't see the end of the string, then it's not very helpful, because if you're cutting but if the cutoff works in the way I would expect, then that would be a strong improvement. But it's just not clear from the screenshot. If you click on that middle of the word where it's cut off, can you keep on scrolling over?
By the way, I'm testing on my machine Umami itself. I don't know if that's better. when you go to quick edit. It's a little better because the solution there is that the whole background of ingredient, let me know if you want me to share the screen, is coming with it. So instead of what we see here, where only the text input fields are longer, the whole background of it is longer. And you see, so it's more complete option. Actually, I guess you can, yeah, try it there.
Regardless of what's the technical solution on a UI perspective, what I would expect here is that, well, basically, if something has longer text, it will just jump into 2 lines.
Yeah, once
I
again,
would never
Benji,
lose.
if you're
I will
sharing the
never
screen, you
lose.
should refresh because it switched to Umami, but it's still Olivero there.
I'm sorry, you're still seeing my my theme page. You don't see.
Yeah, now it's the right one.
Ah,
Now you can do the quick edit.
thank you.
Sorry, Christina, you were saying.
Basically that what I would expect is basically just see all the text all the time. So probably just making the text jump into 2 lines or something like that, not taking more horizontal space. I mean, because obviously you can have like a very long text here, and yeah, I don't know. That's what I would expect on a UI perspective. Obviously, on a theming and styling perspective, it's not that easy, but especially being data table, but that's what I would expect.
Yeah, I was thinking that if like how would you practically, like I've never tried to make a text standard text box like flow onto multiple lines like that, so I don't know how, if browsers even support doing that. But I think that would I think that'd be a better approach if it's possible. Part of me thinks, because we've just demonstrated this is not a problem that's unique to Olivaro or Umami, that maybe this should be fixed higher up at the level of like how quick edit and whatever, like I don't know if this is just a unique to the theme layer or if this is something that can be addressed for more than just the, you know, for more than just one theme.
Yeah, I agree with the higher up. So Umami itself definitely has a very similar, it's not an Olivero bug. And in Umami itself, it looks this very similar. It seems like quick edit all of a sudden use there a table or something that just disregard the background of where these fields are coming from.
Yeah, I guess we can, if there's a way to, because quick edit is obviously like injecting stuff here to make quick edit work and injecting the table drag stuff. So if this problem could be sort of addressed in higher up in quick edit, like that would probably have like if it's possible to do it in quick edit, then and to fix the problem for both themes and then any contrib themes that also might have this problem, because then this is probably not unique to just core themes.
I have a question. Could we see what it looks like to edit this under normal edit, just to compare the quick edit of either theme versus the normal edit of either theme?
Yeah, you would on an edit, usually you're going to get the admin theme as well. So it's all organized for editing fields.
Right. So
Okay,
now
so
I've
it's
got
separating. That's the difference. Okay. So it's almost trying to take what this form is and inject that on top of the other theme. Like it's taking that ingredients kind of block section and injecting it in exactly the way it looks there into the different context. It's almost over, like it's placing them on top of one another, which is resulting in weird behavior.
Yeah, to get to a similar display, but not so buggy, is if you change in appearance your admin theme to be umami as well, at least you would see the same kind of, maybe that's what it takes, the structure. It doesn't look broken, but it looks very, very similar to the quick edit layout.
So while Benji's doing that, I just have to look at the patch, and it's the main thing that it's doing is it's setting those text boxes to be width of 100%. I guess there's some like default width that Drupal or the browser puts in and that overflows. So again, I think if it's feasible to fix that on the quick edit level, then I think that might be a sensible idea.
Yeah, this is just a guess. It seems to me that the quick edit using this kind of layout from the umami theme itself, and maybe that is something that's missing. Maybe we never actually put any CSS for the edit page in umami, and maybe that is what we're gonna fix it. Does that make sense? Maybe quick edit, sorry. All what it does is asking, okay, what's the CSS for this, for that theme, because it's using the front end theme. Or perhaps quick edit could, instead of assuming this is front end, because we're using quick edit, to be able to pull the CSS of the admin, at least for the edit part, and use these fields. But I'm not sure how complicated that would be.
I think that might be over engineering it, because it really just needs, I think it's just that we just need to make, it's basically the solution here as proposed is to make it so the width of the text boxes are 100% wide, which is specifically for the quick edit elements.
Does that achieve what Christina was suggesting, though, which is when you shrink down the size of that window, is the behavior modified in a way that makes usable sense? Because if it's not knocking it down to the next line, and I have seen fields like that before where you get them set to 100%, but then you can't see any of the text that's longer. So if you cut off that whole, you can never physically see like wheat pasta. And so it either has to go to the next line, or it has to allow you to move over and basically reset where you are in the line for editing. And it's not clear to me if that would even happen in the current solution, because we don't have the patch applied.
Yeah, and I think that's a challenge because of the fact that this is behavior that the browser is doing. Like, this is how most browsers, if you take a single line text box like these, the way the browser treats it is the text will just overflow, and then you have to, awkwardly kind of like use your cursor to scroll along, or so I don't know, that might be something that would have to probably, I would imagine, have to explore to see if it's even possible to make it so a text box, like the text in the text box, can overflow onto multiple lines.
And again, like I just want to see that you can even do that scrolling. Like we're talking about this, but I'm not able to see what it's actually doing, how the patch is managing that, because I have seen problems where in those text boxes it doesn't keep on scrolling, and you get it like permanently cut off.
Here it is with the patch applied.
Can you click on the 400 grams whole wheat and scroll to the right? Just want to make certain that it does what I'm expecting. Okay, so that at least works as expected. So hearing what Aaron's saying, then I guess it's not it may not be an option. Christina, have you seen it work the way you described elsewhere, or is this what? Yeah.
It's not that I've seen that in code. It's what I would expect on a general perspective. Like, if I want to drag and drop things, I want to see what I'm drag and dropping, however it's set. I mean, just ending up seeing a few characters in there, I don't think it could be enough. That's what I would expect on a UI perspective, but it's not that I've seen that working in core. Not sure if that's what you were asking for.
I'm just trying to figure out if you've seen the pattern work the way you've described, because with the drag and drop UI for ordering, I just, yeah, I'm not sure if I know of any examples.
Not that comes to my mind right now. I have no idea where I could find it right now. And it's not in core, it's just general patterns, UI patterns that I could have seen around the web.
So I just did a quick search, and so far I haven't found a technical solution to make text boxes behave like that. So it's really the I think text areas are meant to do that, but then that you can't. I wouldn't know how we could use a text area for like entity references. It's a whole nother kind of worms. So I would suggest that this is an improvement in any case, and maybe this. So okay, so here's my suggestions. The patch is an improvement over the current situation. Is my first statement. My second statement is that perhaps it would be worth seeing if this could be solved higher up, like in quick edit, because it is looks like a fairly simple CSS change that could be done in quick edit CSS. And third, maybe there's a way to like make the text box text wrap like that, but that would again probably need to be explored in a follow-up issue or some kind of separate issue. So those are my three kind of concluding statements on this.
And probably basically what you're saying is that core just works like that, and it's probably the behavior that we're also seeing on the admin interface by default for the reference field. I mean, we're not going to change the reference field behavior on the whole system, right?
Meaning if we change it in quick edit, then it will be updated in all themes. Is that what you're saying, Christina?
Yeah, probably if we are saying that this pattern is better, then we should do that change on the source, not just in quick edit. And that will imply some more discussion instead of just trying to fix it here.
I'd also like to point out that the point of quick edit is to see things in context on the page. And looking at this, I think, and comparing to this without the screen, I'm sorry, without the patch applied, I think the version with the patch does a much better job of showing me things in context.
Agreed.
The only qualm I have about the looking at trying to go further upstream is that, is there any risk to current themes that people have built that if we make that change upstream, it could impact their custom themes or other major themes that have been used? Or is that the type of change where it should be transparent everywhere and just behave correctly? Like, could it have a negative consequence?
When you say upstream, you mean making the change in the module rather than the theme, right?
Yeah, making it in the module, or if you even go like it was like it wasn't clear if Christina was talking about going someplace even further upstream than the quick edit module. It sounded like she was talking about going to the source and fixing it in the source.
Yeah. So I wasn't talking about. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think there's precedent for that because I was involved in an issue to fix a UI bug very similar to this with select lists on the off canvas dialog, and we got sign off to just basically do it because the impact to existing sites were probably so minimal. Most themes you have to remember this is like an editing experience. This is like quick edit here is injecting a whole bunch of stuff into the page when you enable that UI the same way off canvas dialog does. So the impact to existing sites would be determined to probably be quite minimal because it's not going to impact their actual front end themes. So yeah, I think there's precedent for doing it in quick edit.
Okay.
One kind of clarifying question I have is it already established that for quick edit, the intended design pattern is that form fields conform to the area in which the section you're editing is? Because I think if that's true, then it makes sense to solve it at the quick edit level. I think what Laurie was bringing up is, from his perspective, having that text field actually span, you know, the normal width that a text field has by default is a better editing experience from his perspective, because then you see the full text. So I think if it's already been decided like what quick edit should be doing in these circumstances where you're editing a like a more narrow section where it's common for the content within that section to actually be flowing outside of it, then we should just kind of be conforming to whatever that design pattern should be.
And I'd like to have another look at Lowry's screenshots. And I wonder why he has such a narrow screen. Maybe he's just looking at it on a tablet or something.
Maybe he was using a 3-column layout, because I know that this is a 2-column layout. So maybe he was just having more columns.
Ooh, this looks kind of funky.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Aaron and some of the other commenters that I think for the quick edit experience, it makes sense that it's staying within the section width that you're editing. So if others kind of already know if that's the intent with quick edit, then I think it would be safe to proceed to like the recommendations you were saying, Aaron, of applying this patch up further up. Yeah.
It would probably be, if the issue does go to the quick edit level, we'd probably want to get subsystem maintainer sign off on that then, because that would for definite give that context. I think that context that you mentioned is kind of important as to like what's quick edit's role here in how it's presenting itself. So then again, like Laurie is tends to I think he's sometimes the am I right? He's sometimes the authority on where CSS should live. So yeah, I don't remember. I'm not sure who the subsystem maintainers are for quick edit. Maybe he's one of them.
Okay, so let's try to wrap up this discussion for now. So I think we have consensus that the patch is an improvement. I think we agree that we should at least consider making the change in the quick edit module rather than the Olivero theme, if that's possible. I don't know that we have a strong opinion on whether it's a good idea to apply the patch for now while we work on fixing it in quick edit.
What would happen if you apply it now and you do quick edit in 6 months? Will they coexist peacefully with one another. I mean, that would be my assumption, but I don't know the back end well enough to say if this is something that we would be having to come back in and change the theme at some point in the future if we did get this to go upstream. And I'm assuming if that this actually, if we do it in both places, we also have to create a new issue to follow up on getting it fixed in Quick Edit or elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't think we can answer that question here. We should leave that to the people who are working on the issue. And also, I just have this question. I'm not sure how Lowry got these screenshots because none of my testing shows it cut off quite as short as what he has, and you know, even when I'm looking at it on a fairly narrow screen. So
you try changing font size, like changing your default, like your not font size so much as your screen magnification. So increase in your browser window, like how
Zoom?
Yeah, zoom in. Yeah, see how it's not, yes, zoom in, but not is this in your site? Does it's not changing anything? Yeah. Can't answer that question.
My assumption, as I said, was that maybe he's just using like a 3-column layout because that would naturally make the other column narrower. No, it's just kind of a. I don't know if a 3-column would make that. Well, maybe was he using Olivero? Maybe it's or sorry, Umami. Maybe Umami displays things, has different column widths or.
well, the issue is for Olivero, for the Olivero theme.
Oh, is it? Right. Yeah. Okay.
There is margin in both sides for input field. Yeah. If we see in Laurie's comment, there is margin on both sides of input field. That's why it's looking smaller. Input field is looking smaller.
Is it this comment where he talks about margin? I don't see.
Yeah, I'm talking about this comment. If we see the input field, then there is a spacing on left and right side. That's why input field is smaller in this screenshot.
So yeah, I see the spacing in the screenshot.
This spacing is not in other screenshots.
You know what I think. What I think is that this screenshot in number 19 is based on an earlier version of the patch. I think that's the difference. And the later screenshot looks to me like a big improvement over the screenshot in number 19.
I would agree.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so who would like to update the issue with a summary of what we've talked about? Indrajit, do you think you can summarize the discussion?
Yeah. Actually, yes. I just need some comments from the reviewer, like if who else others.
Okay.
Actually, Lori comment was like there was once there is 2 margin spaces. That's I think that Gaurav mentioned. So after that, I have updated the patch with the margins. So I think for me it's good from my side. So I think from somebody else need to comment on there, then only we can close this issue
do you want,
or something.
I don't mind doing it because I made those particular statements that everybody seems to agree with now, so I can do that if you want.
Okay, well, why don't you both comment on the issue and mention it in the Slack channel when you've done it, and anyone else who wants to have a look can, okay?
Yeah, okay.
So before we go on to the next issue, I just want to point out that Antonia joined us during that discussion. So thanks for joining the meeting. And I guess which issue shall we discuss next? Christina, is there one that you'd particularly like to talk about?
I don't have any preference. I know
Okay.
there was the content editor one, but happy to jump to any other thing if there's someone that has been working on that. So feel free to jump on any other thing.
Yeah, let me try to talk about this. I brought this up. This is issue 3059984, and as you can see, it's already been fixed. So we now have a new content editor role in the standard profile. Yay! So the problem is that this issue, as it was committed, introduced some permissions. This is adding a new role to the standard profile, and that new role has permissions from modules that are not enabled in the standard profile, such as the media module and the content moderation module. And already in a follow-up issue, we have removed those permissions. And that's something that Alex Pott and I have been working on for a few months now. And there's an issue that's almost ready to go in that will make it impossible to have a role with permissions unless those permissions are provided by a module. So the question is, where do we go from here? So one place we go from here is a follow-up issue, add a content manager role to the standard profile. So that's an issue that we could work on now. And I think we have already discussed pretty much which permissions we want that to have. But the other thing is, what do we do about these permissions from the media module, the content moderation module, that we had to remove from the content editor role? And I think that the best solution is to discuss whether those modules should be in the standard profile. And I think we already have issues for some of these. I don't know if they're linked here. But I'm pretty sure there's an issue to add the media module to the standard profile and to add content moderation to the standard profile. And then the question is, how do we make that happen? What sign-offs do we need? Who do we have to push? What do we have to do? I mean, technically, the change to add a module to the standard profile is very easy. You just add a line to the info.yaml file. So that part of it is not hard at all. The hard part is getting agreement and sign off on adding modules. Comments?
I'm not really sure this is a conversation that the usability team can actually come up with a proper solution. I think that's more a framework managers or product managers question. Obviously, we can say our thoughts, but probably that's something that they should actually decide, or at least they know better the system and what the consequences of doing each of the different solutions that we have on the table. So yeah, obviously the best solution or the ideal solution will be to enable them, because I agree, most of them will be great to have them on the standard profile, but maybe at some point we really need a module that we don't want it enabled for whatever reason on the standard profile. And we will have to come up with a solution for that anyway. So I don't know. Probably not the, probably we can suggest some things on the issue. Not sure if we have to, we are the people here with the best, or at least I'm just talking about me. I'm not the person that has more knowledge about this. And I'm just going to shut up and let other people speak.
Yes. I don't know what else to say other than yes.
So of course the framework managers get to decide, but they won't make the change unless someone is advocating for the change.
Yeah.
And we can be the advocates if we care about this. Antonia, I see you unmuted yourself. Did you want to say something?
Well, it's a personal opinion, but I would vote +1 on adding media to the standard profile, because I've built a lot of sites and I've never built one without having media enabled. I'm not sure about content management though. I have built plenty of sites without content moderation as a feature.
Right.
Totally agree.
I guess the one thing that pops into my head is, why aren't some of these modules enabled in the standard profile? Like because each of these came from an initiative. There was people building these, people coordinating these initiatives, right? So what happened? Like, was there a decision to not include them in standard? Because presumably that would be the trajectory that they would end up taking for something like this, like these pretty like significant, you know, features that are big selling points of Drupal now. Like, where did,
Yeah.
you know,
Not,
did that conversation happen?
not all the features that we add really need to be on all sites. I mean, I think, for example, the content moderation model, I think it's an overkill for a lot of sites, especially the ones that might have 1, 2, 3 editors. Probably they really don't need a workflow like this. So I really see a lot of features that might not have a use case on most of the sites. So probably it's not a good thing to complicate the interface for all the sites, if not all of them really need this feature.
But this really comes down to what you want to be able to expect for other contrib modules in terms of what they can expect for roles within the system and how they're going to operate. So take, for instance, the situation of a blog site. You would be configuring it as if all those roles were there, and any module that wanted to know that those roles were available. By pulling, the roles aren't just about content moderation directly, and meaning the moderation module, but it's more about the paradigm of being able to expect separation of roles, so that when you build contrib modules, you can count on the existence of those roles, those machine names. Otherwise, you can't predict that. You will end up with some set of sites and you are heavily segmenting the blogger use case from the enterprise use case. And it means that 100% of sites, or a very large portion of enterprise grade sites, would never be able to come out of the gate, and they don't have a predictable pattern. So it is a tension between are we building a WordPress site focused on blogging, or are we building something that is intended for extensibility?
Yeah, I guess like comes back to the conversation of which I getting a sense of deja vu is I feel like we've had this in a previous meeting, but like we don't, I think we as in like Drupal, we don't like fully take advantage out of the box of the fact that Drupal supports more than one profile of site. Like we could have a blog profile, we could have like a content focused profile, like for like multi-site, I don't know, something that would you would use like content moderation for, right? So and I don't think we do ourselves any favors by not having those different profiles, because yep, people, I don't know if content moderation is in Umami, but like let's just say it's not. Like if you come to Drupal and you're looking for a good out of box experience and you see, oh, there's like a blogging profile or there's like a content management profile, then that makes your barrier to entry to discover these things much lower. I see Benji's checking to see if checking the module list. So yeah, like there's content moderation. So okay, so it's in that's in Umami.
Umami is a magazine after all, so it's appropriate to have content.
Yeah. So I guess this is kind of more of a wider discussion that is bigger than just usability, but I feel like we keep around these things, we keep circling back to the whole thing of like what profiles should be there in core.
Just to chime in on the like the original question of whether to introduce another role, and whoever brought up the point of contrib modules then needing to take that into account on some level, I think I would lean towards not introducing another role beyond the content editor out of the box for Drupal. It introduces one more role that contrib maintainers need to take into account. And I think it does start to veer into over complicated workflows. You're assuming more complicated workflows. Like I certainly have quite a few clients in my own professional work who don't need a manager role, that the editor is essentially doing that, or the admin role is doing that. And so adding that another degree of complexity to the role permissions out of the box, I think is being too opinionated.
But the thing is, the editor role does not do we deliberately did not put in a number of things, so only the admin does it. Like that predictability makes it extremely difficult. So either we're describing a paradigm where the editor stuff that we extracted from the authenticated role and from admin that were just for content editing, we still retain only administrator has those high level things. And for a blog site, the expectation is the blogger is the administrator. That would be the role that they would use in that scenario. And in which case the multiplicity should not matter for a very simplistic site. For a site that has a content editor, there is almost a de facto need to have someone who can determine whether or not it gets public. It's just a paradigm of predictability, and it's a question of, are we trying to make how we manage and edit content extensible or not? Because if it isn't predictably there, then the module maintainers will not build for it, or can't build for it.
So on the simple blog site example, you're advocating for the blogger would take the content manager role.
I'm advocating in a blog site. So 1 to 3 user site, everyone's an administrator unless there's any reason to do significant, like it's assuming that there's equal shared responsibility for the content. So they become administrators in those scenarios. You're not even using the authenticated role. People should be configured in a blog site as the administrator because they're administering the site. The only reason you would segment out the administrator is if there's a group of users that are non-technical in nature. And then you can say, okay, non-technical scenario, then they're publishing and doing everything themselves, but that's still different than being the authenticated user, because this all came out of the traditional Drupal use case of you had anonymous, you had authenticated, you had admin. And we said authenticated is not sufficient to indicate whether or not you generate content or manage content or do anything with content, because it's more of an authentication to authorization model. So in segmenting that out, you're really just trying to say, okay, we know that to generate content, this is a working paradigm. So simple use cases, you don't want to overcomplicate things. You can assume they're using administrative rights, which give them access to everything, and that's a predictable role. And any site that has content moderation or things related to content moderation without actually enabling the content moderation module, where they want to have those segmented permissions, you just need to make certain that we aren't saying you only are an admin or not. Like that to me, that appears to be very clunky. And maybe it's a naming problem. Maybe admin shouldn't be called admin. I don't know. Like it can be total site owner, but it's the working name we've always used. But I've just time and again in medium-sized businesses where they do need that separation of roles, it's not predictably there, and the administrator at the back end isn't the same thing as a content publisher, the person who can determine whether or not something is ready to go through. That they just end up being different roles, which is why content editor didn't get certain permissions. And so those permissions only exist within administrator right now, or admin role.
Got it. That's super helpful. Thanks for breaking that down.
I think one thing just to pick on something that was said earlier, one of the reasons that, like, I guess not one of the reasons, but like part of the reason, to me at least, that this is of course in the standard profile and not just like installed by Drupal itself, is that this is kind of like, and I post this in issues, this is a sensible starting point for when you start a site. So like when you install standard, you get this. If you go and install other modules, you then have to go and configure permissions, and that's something you have to do anyway. So you'd have to give permissions to other roles if you had multiple roles. And this also touches on a problem we discussed before around providing a better configuration, like permission forms for per module. And we've touched on that at a previous meeting, and there's an issue for that. But I also want to note that, based on something I said earlier, that I don't think contrib should depend on this being here, because again, contrib modules can't guarantee that a site has been installed with standard profile, and they can't also guarantee that someone hasn't completely changed this role beyond what the content editor, and they just so happen to keep the role there. So the machine name is still like content editor, but the role does no longer represent what a content editing role is. So I wouldn't want contrib to rely on it, but I guess because it kind of touches on a few things. So I don't think there's a huge issue right now with like it lacking some permissions that we previously had there. I think if modules, like certainly in standard, if modules like media and content moderation end up getting into standard, then there should be those permissions could be added against this role again. But I think that's as much as I can say on it.
Okay, and we are nearly at the end of the hour. Let me just ask the two people who haven't been here before, Clayton and Indrajit, if you could post your Drupal.org usernames in the UX Slack channel, then I can give you credit for attending the meeting and participating. And yeah, thanks all for coming. And I will copy over the issues we didn't get to discuss to the issue for next week's meeting, and we'll look at some of those then. Thank you all for attending.
Great, thanks, Benji. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.